Hey everybody, I hope you're ready to dive deep with me today in my really thorough review of Twilight Inscription, an epic game that requires an epic review. So I'm not necessarily going to need you to know everything about this game to understand my review of it, because I'm going to give you a brief overview, and as I explain the components, the mechanics, the actions, I think I'm just going to weave in what I really like about the game or some things that I wish were maybe just a little bit different. So the very first thing I want to show you is the stuff. So I've got this over-the-shoulder camera, and I also have my close-up green screen ready to go to show you all that great detail of everything that's in this game. So players are going to, yes, grab their dry erase marker. I have a light pink, but it comes with orange, but we have our own, and I think they're just a titch better. Players are also going to put their 4 boards out in front of them. They have a navigation board, an expansion board, a warfare board, and an industry board. Now, players are going to want to play on the B side. The B side, oddly enough, is the standard, identical side. And your first couple games, I would definitely recommend playing on the same boards as everyone else at the table, just so that you get to know it. So when you talk about things and you really kind of are exploring all your different strategies, it's similar or identical to everyone else's board so that you're not confusing people. So yes, start on the B side. I will talk about the A side in a little bit. You're also going to get this giant stack of cards ready to go, starting with 1, and you alternate the light and the dark all the way through to 5. So they're all marked with these Roman numerals. And again, you've just got this giant stack of cards here. I mean, it is a thick, thick stack. Every single card in this stack is a turn in the game. And that means you're going to flip a card over to begin the game. Let's just do it. So I'm going to flip this card over, and it says Fledgling Empire Strategy. Choose active sheet and spend this card's resources. Then the speaker rolls the dice, and then you spend the dice resources. Okay, that's a whole turn. This is it. That's what makes this so easy. So those are called space boxes. They're not really, that's what I call them. Because in space, you can have weirdly shaped objects and they're just fine. Because there are 3 symbols here, and for the life of me, I can never keep them straight. So this is a space box. This is a normal box. And this is a triangle wrench. Okay? Those are the 3 basic symbols in this game. If you can keep those 3 straight, then you'll be fine. Give them whatever name you want. But in my game, that's what we called them. Okay, so they ask you to spend this card's resources, and then you'll roll the dice. That's it. Like that's just the coolest thing about this game, is it's so easy and fast. You just flip a card and do what it says. And sometimes cards are going to trigger things like war, or they're going to trigger things like a vote. Those are going to be those interrupter cards that you're not necessarily sure where they're going to come inside of that particular phase of the game. 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. So I'm going to take my marker, I'm going to choose an active sheet. That's the other thing that makes this game so streamlined, is you're not adding to all of these maps at once. You're picking one, and you're marking a matching symbol that shows on that particular card, and that's the sheet you play on for this whole cards round. That's it. So I look at this and I say I've got 2 space boxes. Now, I think a really good place to start is, did I claim? Well, industry is a good place to have those space boxes, but so is navigation. And I'd say maybe hang off a little bit on warfare and on expansion, because you need planets to expand, and you get planets when you navigate, when you work your way through the universe, or your solar system or whatever. So the thing about this is you can claim an unexplored system with the space box, and then the other 2 symbols allow you to explore. All that means is claiming is circle something that has a line to it, which could be this space, or this space, because they have lines coming off of home. Or you can draw a line with one of the other two symbols from a space that has a line drawn to that spot already. It's super easy. That's all you do in navigation. You just draw lines and circle spaces that are next to lines. And it's the three different basic symbols that allow you to do that. Of course, one lets you do claim, the other two allow you to draw your lines. Industry, you have to work on this map over here, and you're trying to circle things that are adjacent to a scrap space or scrap things to kind of move out and get things. But claiming is always good. Claiming is really, really good. So let me just do that. I'm going to be over here on navigation. Let's say I pick this map for my choice. I get to claim. I'm going to circle this planet. I claimed one with a space box, and that allows me to have a planet. Now, I don't have to mark which planet that I'm picking over here just yet, but I have one ready to claim. And then I could also claim this little booger. He is a resource, and that means that I can check off a resource down here that matches, which is that red one. So I'm going to put a mark right there on my industry track. And this track down here is super important. It's going to start giving you trade goods. So if you can gather a lot of the basic goods, which is the red, blue, and yellow, you're going to get trade goods, which are wilds. So good. Okay, let me show you this asset resource. Okay, let me see if I can find what I just did. Aha, see, I did. They have this really cool cheat sheet, right? Commodities, immediately cross out the next icon of this type in your industry chart starting from the left. So I got the red one, so I did the red, there's the blue, there's the yellow. That's it. It was super easy, right? So that was my action of my fledgling empire. When everyone's done, they just put their pen down and they wait for everyone, or particularly the speaker, to roll the dice. Now, they are going to roll all the dice, and I want to show you, these are the chunkiest, biggest dice you've ever seen in the whole world. This guy probably isn't showing up right now with my pink screen, probably. And then I've got a blue die and a green die. These are going to be those colors that you have, but then these are the basic dice. And everybody gets to activate these every single time. They may or may not get to activate these guys unless they've got an unlocked space down here that tells them they get to activate those dice. So while the speaker rolls them all, you may not get to actually play with all the dice. All right, so I rolled them. Here's what I got. So I've got these guys kind of off in the corner. In the first part of the game, you're just not going to get them. And I got 2 space boxes and a normal box. Okay, so I'm going to keep this right here, and I'm going to put it on the edge of the table so that we can see everything. And with the same board, I am now going to draw more stuff. I can explore an adjacent system with my regular box, and then I can claim 2 more, which is good because I am going to probably want to go down here, and I'm going to explore from my previously explored space. I'm going to claim this one, and I'm going to claim this one. Okay, so I'm going to check off that blue box right here, the leftmost space on my industry board. And now I've claimed everything in this space, and I'm going to have to make sure that I have more boxes, like regular boxes and triangle wrenches, so that I can do some more exploring because I've claimed it all. But that's it. I'm weaving my way. I'm networking out so I can gather really, really cool stuff. There's a lot of things on here, and I'm not going to go in the ins and outs of it, but it's going to give you resources, going to give you victory points, going to give you planets, and hopefully you can work your way all the way over to Mechatol Rex, which is this big board out here. If you're the first to get there and claim it, you're going to get 7 victory points and 3 bonus votes. Let me show you that. All right, there's Mechatol Rex. If you're first, you're going to get that guy, and you're going to sign your name there and get more victory points. Yay! So exciting. Here, let me put this on the other side. Okay, so done. Turn is done. That's it, right? You're just going to one board and you're doing something there with the stuff. Now you have to think about like what effect that's going to have on other boards. Like getting planets helps with expansion, getting those resources helps down here on your industry board, stuff like that. But that's the entire turn. And when everyone's done with that, then you turn over the next card. So I would say gameplay is pretty fast. You're as fast as your slowest player because this is all simultaneous. that's one thing I really like about Twilight Inscription. You just roll the dice, and first you do the card, and then you roll the dice, and then you just go. And when you're done, and then you just move on. So everyone's kind of heads down for a little bit, and the rules really do specify that you should not be looking at your opponent's boards during the same turn, responding to them at the same time. You should not be doing that, because there is going to be encounters with each other and warfare, because you will be fighting the players to your right and the players to your left. Just one person. You're going to fight this one and this one. And so you don't want to know what they're doing because you have to plan. You have to just do your own strategy outside of knowing what they're going to do that turn. Now, after that turn, you can look around and be like, what'd you do? What'd you do? Did you say, oh, you got that cool ship? Oh, you built a dreadnought? Oh, crap, I'm in trouble. And you can respond, but in that turn, don't pay attention to them. And I think everyone that I played with was really good about that, myself included, because you're so focused on your boards. You have way too much to look at. It's so hard to pay attention to what they're doing. So that's the turn. Now, I want to say that there are these individual character cards that, again, I want to show you the stack. So here's, of course, the on the cover of the box, the character that you see. But look at this. Look at all of these different kinds of, look at how many cards there are. This is insane. There's so many. And each of these gives you perhaps a starting ability or resources, ongoing abilities, and then it gives you kind of like a trigger action, which is really cool because if you get this symbol at the bottom, it kind of looks like those old school dollar signs you would write in your notebook when you were a kid in the 80s. That's what it looks like. Right, let me show you this. I think it looks like one of those dollar signs, but that's just me, right? I have all these different names for everything in this game. But it will tell you, oh, you got a setup, right? You get to claim 2 trade goods, yay! And then you also get an ability. And then this one is triggered only if you claim that particular resource. You get 3 of these cards dealt to you at the beginning of the game. You look at all 3 of them, you pick one, and then you discard the rest. So every single game you could be grabbing and dealt 3 totally different people or factions, I guess you would call them. And you get to try a new strategy because it's going to give you some focus. It's going to be like really good in voting and diplomacy or democracy. And you've got expansion. Maybe it's really good in expanding and gaining those population that you really need. Maybe it's all about warfare. You get a super kind of spaceship, cool spaceship that nobody else gets. Or it could be navigation focused. So it's really up to these cards that gives you that initial strategy or kind of incentive to do something or to go to a particular board more often than others. And I have to say that I want to like it, but I find that every time I get 3 cards, I look at it and I'm like, oh, I don't know if I want any of these 3. And then I draw 3 more and I look at those and I'm like, I don't know if I want those 3. And maybe that's just me being particularly picky or wanting to do something in one game and then not getting the leader that really would boost that kind of action. But I'm going to say, I think the last time I played, I looked through all of them and then just picked one. And that's kind of, I think, because I have a really nice husband. And I just wanted to see them all too. After you play this a time or two, I think it's hard to get through all of these cards because there's just so many of them. And they all have really, really different focus. And I think when you play a different player count, certain leaders help you with more players or don't help you really with fewer players. And so if you're playing with a small group, some of these just maybe aren't as effective. So keep that in mind. Maybe just deal everybody 5 and then you pick one from 5. Or maybe you draft. Maybe you look at the cards and you grab like 1 or 2 and then pass the cards to the other player because someone else might want a card that you pass on. It's really up to you. I'm saying, follow the rules, but also if you want to play with some of these characters and you don't want to play with others, make it to where you can actually play with them because this game is long. It is epic, And I think that there might be a little bit of wiggle room for the faction cards and how you select them. So have fun with that. Don't worry about just sticking in a particular parameter of only drawing 3 cards and then picking that one. Now in the very first game, just go with something. I mean, just play with anything. It doesn't matter really. You're just learning the game. So I don't want to worry about that. But if you want to play more games, right? If you're playing like me and you're playing again and again and again, maybe just pick what you want. Just play with who you want, because again, this game is so long, and if you want to do or try a certain strategy, just do it. Just go for it. Okay, that was enough. I was very long-winded about this, but this is really one of my sticking points because I want to like these, and I think there's a better way to like these than just in the way that the game encourages you to. Okay, so the next thing that I want to talk about is that this stack is big. So just like get some snacks and stuff. This is a huge stack of cards, and every time you turn one over, you're doing the same thing. So let's take a look at the next card. So I've got this card. I'm going to turn this one over, and it says Echoes of the Past. Strategy: choose active sheet and spend this card's resources. One of each: a real box, a space box, or a triangle wrench. Then you're going to roll the dice and spend your resources. So these first age cards are really just building up, right? You're just getting really cool opportunities. You are getting more resources. You have a variety here. Now would be a great time for me to go back up to navigation, but I think I'm going to go down to industry because I really want to work on getting some of these goods to get my trade goods, to get my this, to get my that, because you're going to trigger certain phases. Now here's the votes. So this is going to be the vote that happens in round 2. There's going to be one that happens in round 3 and round 4. And so you have to be ready for these votes. They're going to ask you to spend your check marks. Everyone starts with 2 check marks. And you're going to vote either to pass or fail something. And when you spend your checks, they're gone. You can re-earn them because you're going to get them up here when you have discussion boxes and you earn those. So you're going to start getting more votes to build up for the next time. But the votes, sometimes you really, really, really want something because the other thing hurts you so badly, but nobody else has that care, has the investment, has the concern. You can spend, like, say, 7, and if collectively they beat your 7, or you roll the die, or someone breaks ties, then you're like, oh, I just spent 7 and got nothing. I mean, you spend them. They are gone. So you have to be really, really careful with votes. Do you want something, and how much are you willing to spend to possibly get it? And it's just done. It's fast. It just happens. There's no negotiation. I mean, one thing that I really, really like about Civilization and games like that, or Western Empires I played just recently, is that you walk around and you haggle and you say and you barter and you say, well, I'll do this if you do that vote, and if you give me 2 olives, then I'll give you this steel bar or whatever. And you talk to each other. And in this, the vote's just really flat. It's not dynamic. You kind of know what everyone really wants. You can look at someone's board and say, oh, well, you don't want that because it'll hurt you here, or you do want that thing. And I don't know if it feels like I want it to be more. I want it to feel more. I want it to be more haggly. I want it to be, maybe have a second place, or maybe have like a halvesies or something. But it feels like an all or nothing, yes or no, pass or fail, means you could really deplete yourself and then not be prepared for the next round, and then just keep not being prepared and kind of losing out on every single vote. Which kind of just starts to feel bad after a while. And I saw that happen to some players at the table I was with. So I kind of was like, oh, that's stinky. So I think that the vote could be maybe a little bit more engaging, player to player, a little bit more interactive, and possibly a little bit more forgiving. Maybe. Be prepared for votes, though. They matter, and they'll hurt you. And sometimes they don't. And then you're like, I don't care. And you vote 0. Who cares, right? And it just goes really fast. So that could be a really fast card for you. Maybe the next time the vote really does matter. The other thing is you've got warfare. And warfare means that you count the dots of spaces that you have marked. So let's say for Echoes of the Past, I came down to warfare, and I had one of these, one of those, and one of those. So what I can do is I can just make infantry dots, and I can go adjacent to this orange line, and I can go 1, and then I go 2, and I go 3. So I essentially made dots in adjacent spaces, and I ended up getting 1 victory point and progress towards 1 victory point on this side. But the reason I spaced out my dots is because I want 1 point of strength on this side, 2 points of strength on this side, 1 and 1 for that one. And you'll see infantry just says put a dot. Put a dot right there, and if there's something on it, then you get that thing. So now I'm ready. I've got some strength on both sides. I'm ready to go. Let me roll the dice. Okay, so I'm going to roll these dice. Hopefully I can get 2 of those space boxes or 3 of the regular boxes to get some PDS or cruisers. I got, hey, 3 boxes. So good. So I go 1, 2, 3, and I get a victory point. Circle that. And I got a cruiser. So where am I going to put my cruiser? I'm going to put it right here. Watch this. 1, 2, 3. Now you can cross this threshold line. This dotted line means after we have the first battle, you're going to draw a line, and you can't put any ships lower than that, but you can always put ships higher, and we'll only count those points in later rounds. So whenever we fight in the second round, I'm only going to count the dots in this space. And in the third time we fight, only dots in this space. And every dot is a strength towards your military. So I am looking really, really good. I think my opponent to my right says, wow, Kim's got 3 points towards me. Over here, I've got 2 points towards this person. And if you win, you gain the top bonus. If you lose, you gain a -1 point. So I do want to state, though, that when you lose these battles, to each person, you're only losing 1 victory point. And the gain for the amount of like attention and dice and actions, I feel like Warfare is probably one of the weaker boards in my opinion, because you can put so much into it and barely lose, meaning you get a minus point despite all your efforts, or you win and you just show that you're this dominating warfare force and no one's really fighting against you. And so you're spending all this time and energy over here and you're getting a reward here or there. You're getting a $sign, you're getting a free die, but you're not gaining all that much victory points. The victory points section over here is very low. I mean, you could build some dreadnoughts and war suns and maybe gather 2 or 3 or 4 points. You can circle these for 1 point here and there. If you win at the end in the last fight, you get 3 points to your competitor's -1, but it's only a -1 still. I feel like it's not valued in the same way as some of the other victory points. Up here, navigation, I feel like I can grab a whole bunch of points and know that I do get 4 points. I will get 2 points. I will get, whatever it states there. I'm not going to maybe get points or maybe lose points. This is that kind of iffy, kind of risky place to go. And I've done heavy warfare and I've done light warfare, and I feel like when I did light warfare, I fared much better, to be honest. I like it. I love warfare. I mean, I'm a fighter. I love this, and I wanted this board to be way more powerful than I think it actually ended up being in my plays. Okay, so that's warfare. I talked a little bit about this board, a little bit about that board, things that I really like or don't like. Now, the other thing so you're going to fight. That's really cool. And that card's going to show up in rounds 2, 3, 4, and 5. So be ready for that fight. Over here, you're going to get just a bunch of cool stuff. You just have to mark off these symbols. So you get some boxes, you get some space boxes, you get some wrenches, and you're good. And you just get all of these things that are inside of that planet, which is amazing. I mean, it's just so fantastic. Over here, you're going to add up all these population points every time you get that symbol. That's the population symbol. You just circle another person and they're just going to add up. I love it. I mean, expansion is expansion, right? You're going to planets and you're finding all these resources and you're gathering all this new tech and new cool stuff. I love it. So how do you actually get these dice, right? I told you that you might be able to activate these. Well, you'll see that you can actually try to get some of them. If you do this symbol, you're going to be able to get a green die, but you have to mark. If you get this, claim this bonus of a green die, a pink die, or a blue die, you have to pick which board you want to put it to, so you only get to have this die when it's rolled if you're activating industry, if you've marked that right here, you've marked it under industry. And if someone rolls a pink die and it's over here and you don't have it marked on navigation, you're not going to get it. So I think it's really cool, and I think that you really need to make sure that you're getting some of these bonuses because they are super cool. Lastly, I've talked a little bit about industry, but industry, you just want to make sure that you get these points. This is big points. I have to say, if you go hard on industry, I have seen in my games that you can bank. You can bank, and this is where you get all your bread and butter. So if you push hard, you can circle all of these and gain those victory points while getting more and more trade goods, which are wild, while getting more and more check marks, which helps you in diplomacy and voting. And I just think that no one can take these points away from you, and they're just yours, and you build them, and they're just locked in. And so it's really, really important for you to just focus on industry. And maybe that's just part of my next critique, is that if you fail to really focus on industry, then you might actually not be in competition to win the game. Now, I am not saying that the only way to have fun with this game is to win, but I do think that because it is a competitive game, it does ask for player interaction when it comes to warfare and when it comes to voting, that it is competitive. You really do want to outplay and out-strategize your opponent. So when it comes to industry, I think that it's maybe as overpowered as I think warfare is underpowered as a board. Now, one thing that you can do is maybe focus on some other things. There are a couple different features that kind of, help with this or help maybe mitigate that. Is that you've got these objectives. You've got 4 different kinds of objective cards that are shuffled. They're randomly determined, but they are in each of the different types of boards, and it asks you to focus on something to get big victory points. And so that kind of helps you really focus, maybe balance it out. So Prospector is under navigation, and it says claim 5 systems. And if you do it first, you get 5 points. If you do it second, third, fourth, fifth, whatever, you get 3 points. So that's navigation up here, finding those planets. Circling them is claiming it. On expansion, it says here, Core Cracker, cross out all resource icons on 3 planets. And that's simply saying all these icons I got to with that planet, all these icons, all these icons. 9 points. 9 points. That's huge. This one's industry, sourcing expert, have scrapped 10 spaces. Okay, that's great. Scrapped means X, and scrap is if you have a box. Now, space boxes and triangle wrenches allow you to claim spaces adjacent to scrap spaces. So sometimes you have to scrap spaces to branch out to get to other resources. And of course, all the really great resources, the cool bonuses are on the edge, right? Where it's really hard to get to. So you got to be careful with how you're strategizing your scraps and your claims. But the industry is freaking cool. Like, this is cool. This is cool. This is cool. I mean, industry is just cool. I mean, they made it too cool, to be honest. I mean, it's just too enticing. It's too good. Armada. Build 6 non-infantry units. Great. Get 7 points to someone's 4 or none. That means I've built 7 that I can't count infantry. So I've got 1 cruiser towards my 6. Great, right? I might be able to get that before everyone else if I'm pushing really hard on warfare. So I think that these cards ask you to do something really cool on each of these boards that's really kind of hard to do all of them. You have to kind of focus a little bit. So even if you think warfare, in my opinion, is a little bit undervalued or doesn't have as good of potential for points as some of the other boards, you still can get that Armada bonus, which is 7 points. Super, super cool. Now, there are these really wild cards. I mean, I think these are so cool. And you get these when you go to the locations in navigation. You go up here, or you can go here, and when you claim those, you are going to get the top card. You're just going to draw it, and it's going to tell you something. I mean, it just is so cool. Look at this. It gives you 3 victory points automatically. Synchrotone, play immediately. On industry, claim any 3 spaces or scrap any 5 spaces. You can put scrap over here, legally. Scrap over here, legally. Scrap. I mean, you could do whatever you want, which is just super, super cool. Play immediately. Here's Dominus Orb. Deploy 2 dreadnoughts anywhere except on another unit or on an anomaly. This is insanely cool. And you get 2 points and you just drop some dreadnoughts down. That's insane. That's 5 points of fight. It's 5 dots. These cards are just dynamite. I mean, I love them. I mean, some of them don't say play immediately. This one says the Obsidian. It's 4 points. You may play this relic after dice are rolled. Until the end of the round, you treat all focused dice as unlocked, which are the colored dice. And you can spend dice resources on inactive sheets. That says you get all those, and you can go wherever you want. I mean, it breaks the rules. So these cards are so, so insanely cool. I love them. I love them. That's one of my favorite things about this game. I like that these cards change for the map bonuses. And here's the last thing I want to talk about that I really, really like about this game. Every single player board in this box, which there are 8 sets of all of these 4 dry erase boards, and all 8 of them do this. You flip it over to the A side, and now you've got totally unique configurations of planets in your expansion. Industry map here, warfare and warfare bonuses, along with your navigation, your entire board. This network out here in space is totally different. And then you get to play with asymmetrical boards, you play with asymmetrical factions, and you have a fantastic time. I really, really like these A boards. I mean, when I got a chance to flip mine over and play with the A side, I was like, yes! I mean, it's so, so cool. I love it, and I love that my opponents are just doing all of their stuff on their side too. So just loving the asymmetrical opportunities in this. It just cracks open that strategy and that planning so much more, and I really, really enjoy it. So while there are a couple things that maybe frustrate me about the game or that I find to be just slightly imbalanced, overall I would say that this is a fun game. It's an engaging game. I like that you play with people and you have interactions every now and then when it comes to a vote or when it comes to claiming Mechatol Rex, getting there first or second, or maybe even having your warfare. Most of the time you're just flipping over a card, adding some resources to this board, rolling a dice, and just you're just crunching. I mean, this is a real crunchy game. This is a again, heads down, markers ready to go, and you are just trying to maximize every turn, because there is going to be a time in this game where you look back at a previous turn and say, that entire turn was wasted. And you're just going to kick yourself. You just wish that you'd done something else. You wish you'd thought 3 turns ahead instead of just 2 turns ahead or 1 turn ahead, because this game is going to make you feel like that. And it's fun. I really do like it. I will say I'm a huge fan of Hadrian's Wall, and I think that I enjoy this game similarly. While I think that this theme is so much more engaging, and I love the different boards, and I love the 5,000 different factions, I might say that I would enjoy more playing Hadrian's Wall over Twilight Inscription as a real hunky, deep, like roll and write, or in Hadrian's Wall just getting things and then writing on a bunch of sheets of paper, much like this without the dice. I would, but just barely. I mean, I'm putting it above, but I'm also saying there's a lot to really enjoy about Twilight Inscription. It gives me a really, really lovely feel without so much interaction that you get in Twilight Imperium. And I think it works really well. It's fun, it makes sense once you get used to the iconography, and you just flip a card, play your things, roll the dice, add it to your board, that's it. turns are fast. Turns are super fast, and I think you can have a blast with this game. It's up to you whether you feel like it's worth that investment, because I do know this is a pricier game. If you have a friend, definitely mooch off of them, because this goes up to 8, and you can have a really, really fun Twilight Inscription night with a full table of asymmetrical boards playing this game together. So maybe that's going to be my recommendation for you. If you could, I'd invite you over here so you can play on my copy. Well, thank you for joining me. I know I went through a lot without necessarily giving you all the ins and outs, but I really hope you appreciated my take on Twilight Inscription. All right, folks, I'll see you later.